Alright, we are live. Hello everyone, welcome to this stream. We will be starting shortly. Those of you who are watching this after the stream is already over, I will be placing timestamps in the description for your convenience. My gosh, I kind of cut this a little bit close, didn't I? I was supposed to start like a minute ago, which I guess isn't cutting it close, it's actually cutting it late. But it actually took a little bit more work to get this set up than I thought it would. Whoops. Hi, Ziggy. Bye, Ziggy. Now to just wait for people to show up. Hopefully people show up, because, it'll be really cool if while I'm talking about Season 8 of my Let's Plays, I have other people with me in the chat also talking about Season 8 of my Let's Plays. It'll be fun. Yeah, this is pretty much how I'm going to do my main series streams from now on. My Game Boy streams, I'm just going to go ahead and continue using the white border. The white background, that is. I just realized there was one image that I wanted to load up just in case I needed it, but I guess I'll wait until I actually need it before loading it up, because I don't want to spoil it. That would be unfortunate. Also, excuse this being cut off at the edge, and also this line down here. These will adjust themselves automatically once the chat fills up. At the very least, I'd like to see Pop the Weasel pop in here. Pop is kind of talkative, and I could use talkative. Oh yeah, that's true. Oops. Well, can't wait around forever, so let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the end of Season 8. Now to my Let's Plays. I'm not gonna end my Let's Plays anytime soon, but I kind of... Oh, thank you. Also, hi. So, yeah, here I am in Rocket City. This isn't live. Well, I mean, I'm talking live, but the video you're seeing is not live. Basically, I just hit the record button in Rocket City, facing myself, and then I went and took a nap while it recorded. So, yeah, I'm kind of a skunk here. I've been a skunk all season. Yeah, it's been pretty fun, but I'm ready to return to being a raccoon. Because that's what I normally am. A raccoon dragon instead of a skunk dragon. Reason I chose to be a skunk was, well, it was my twin sister's idea. She found a magic spell that would turn us into skunks, and I wound up liking it so much that I decided, maybe I'm just gonna stay a skunk for the rest of my life. And, well, that's why I decided I'd go ahead and record my Let's Play credits with me being a skunk, along with a few other graphics. But, some life decisions aren't really worth it. Some life decisions. I'm definitely ready to return to being a raccoon. Season 8 of what? Season 8 of my Let's Plays. I have been doing Let's Plays for 8 seasons. And by that I mean I've basically sectioned off some of my Let's Plays into seasons based around various themes. Like this season that just ended was the Not RPG Maker 1 season. And the reason why I decided to do this season was because, well, it's been a while since I did an RPG Maker game that wasn't on RPG Maker 1. And so I decided to dedicate this season to doing RPG Maker games that weren't on RPG Maker 1. And the first game that I wound up doing was, let me close that and open this and hit play. The Adventures of Bunnywolf, which wasn't really a very good game. In fact, one could say it was actually kind of a bad game. I wound up doing this game to start my 8th season of Let's Plays because it happened to be timed perfectly with Easter. So I figure, Easter game, and it's Easter. Let's play this. Now, when I started this game, I thought it was actually better than how it actually turned out, because I actually did a review game. Why isn't that settling? Oh well. I actually did a review of this game way back when, and I gave this game a rating of 5 out of 10, because I actually thought that the Easter egg hunting wasn't bad, but playing it again, it turned out to be bad. I guess this time while streaming, it was not as easy finding the eggs for some reason. Plus, maybe there was some concern over how I was streaming to a live audience, and I wanted to keep things interesting, and let's be honest, this wasn't very interesting. I actually tried inviting the game's creator to the stream, but she never got my message about that, and It's probably a good thing. So, that was that. Let's see. Close that. Unless you guys have something else you want to bring up about this. I imagine Katie won't. I don't think Katie's been around for my streams very much. I saw Katie a couple times. Also, cool. Fox Girls for the win. Oh, and there's an Easter egg. I don't know why I'm rubbing against it. Maybe I'm trying to point out that it's an Easter egg. Oh no, wait. For some reason, I couldn't grab that Easter egg for some reason. Because the eggs were rigged up really strangely. Like, you didn't actually interact with the eggs to pick them up. You actually had to interact with a box that was sort of on top of them in order to pick them up. Which was weird, but I guess because the eggs were on pedestals that were buried in the ground, and normally you'd interact with the pedestals, but since the pedestals are in the ground, you can't really interact with them, so the invisible box on top of the egg was the workaround. Not a very good workaround, but a workaround nonetheless. And yeah, this game did have some weather effects going on, which was kind of interesting, made things a little bit more interesting. Actually, that reminds me, the battles. The battles were not very good. At all. I mean, these battles weren't that bad here, but then I got to the bass, and they would paralyze me, and hit me over and over and over and over and over and over, and then paralyze me again, and then hit me over and over and over and over and over. The battles definitely could have used some work. I mean, this is a cute game, but playing it is just not very fun. Oh yeah, and the boss fight that we were supposed to lose, but I didn't know I was supposed to lose the fight, and so I used up all my items. What fun! By the way, I'd like to point out, like, the lack of music here. Reason there's no music is because, well, first off, the game footage would have included my original commentary, so don't need to be hearing myself talking over myself. But more than that, I was thinking about, like, playing the RG Maker soundtrack of some sort, but then we probably come across a boss theme while I'm talking about something lighthearted, and I'd rather not deal with the terrible context. No, there was battle background music. Anyway, I'm done talking about this game. Let's talk about the next game that I did for Season 8 of my Let's Plays, and that was Deity Chronicles. Now, I'll be honest, I don't actually remember a whole lot about this game, except for the episode that I'm playing here, the Crimes Against Assyria 2-part episode, where, you know, we sort of fiddled with a sigil that we weren't supposed to fiddle with. I won't go into details because possible spoilers in case anybody wanted to go back and watch that. You know, as far as 2-part episodes go, I like cliffhangers. Like cliffhangers so much that sometimes I have them in my Let's Plays. And, you know, Crimes Against Assyria was probably one of my favorite 2-part episodes I've ever done. Had a good cliffhanger, and the story continued proper in the second part, and concluded proper in the second part. So it was kind of, you know, pretty interesting. Also, like, there was a dog playable character, so there was that. Actually, there was another 2-part episode that was at the end of this. First off, this was a demo, and the demo ended, well, I don't remember how it ended, after a boss fight or something, but I did that as a 2-part episode also, and that wasn't as good a 2-part episode, but, you know, I just made it a 2-part episode. The battles I can't say much about, aside from I think the bosses had a lot of HP, but I can't remember. Not that it matters, because the guy who's working on this is actually replacing all the battles. This game had first-person view battles, as you're about to see, but he's replacing all the battles with side-view battles. There was some good custom stuff going on, though, with that rotating menu, that Secret of Mana rotating menu. I mean, it was kind of confusing at times, but overall it was pretty cool. Anything else about this game? I remember the boss theme was cool. Boss theme was like from Tales of Xillia, I think. But the boss theme was pretty much good enough that I actually took the time to just listen to it on its own. So whatever game that was from, it's a cool boss theme. If this game ever gets finished, Red Eye, the game's creator, could of course ask me to play the finished game. When that'll be, who knows? Nice segue, Wario Land Gold Pyramid. Let's move on to the next game. It was Omnis, the Erias Chronicles or something. I don't know. Look at this game. Does this look like RPG Maker to you? No. This game had like custom graphics, it had custom music, it had a custom battle system, custom text messages. Up there in the left corner you can see it was using a little map system, which was cool. This game was actually pretty interesting from the get-go. Not only with all the custom stuff, but because of the atmosphere. Once again, we had a demo that was, well, basically a demo. And I got... most of the demo took place in this underground labyrinth that was kind of abandoned except for a few crazies. And, you know, the atmosphere was pretty creepy at times. And it gave you the sense that something was going to jump out and get you. And as you'll see soon, as it turns out, there actually was something that would come out and get you. Not these things right here that we're about to fight, but after this fight, there was this creepy statue. And I remember the creepy statue more than anything else in the game, but of course I remember some other things. Eventually we did get through the underground labyrinth and made it onto a train, because we're supposed to rescue some person of unknown importance. I don't really know who this person was. I mean, we did eventually rescue this person, and she turned out to be pretty nice. Speaking of this person, that train sequence wound up being a 3-part episode. Originally, it was recorded as 2 episodes, but one of the episodes wound up a little longer than I would have liked, and I was worried about episode length at the time, and so it's like, you know, we can't have this episode this long. I'm just going to make up a couple cliffhangers, and so I did, which wasn't that interesting for the first cliffhanger, but the second cliffhanger was good, right when it was revealed right when you met the person that you were rescuing. Oh, and there's my little correctional quip of me being a skunk, which I've been doing correctional quips for a long time, for most of my Let's Plays, and for this season, since I was being a skunk, I updated my correctional quip quite significantly. It used to be a basic text box with a picture, now it was a smooth text box. What the... That made me jump. Which one of my beepers was that? Was that my smoke detector or carbon monoxide detector? I don't know. That was freaky. That was also interesting. I wonder which one that was. Kind of inconvenient that it would happen during this little thing. Alright, the correctional quip. Yep, I updated the looks of my correctional quips and a few other graphics for this season. And then I stopped using them because I stopped editing my episodes. Cause, well, I'll get more into detail about it, but I just didn't have time for it anymore. And it's much easier to not edit my streams. Because before I was like taking my streams, my 2-hour streams, and splitting them into 3 or 4 episodes. Now I don't do that. I just leave the streams whole. Which actually makes my episode count go a little bit slower than it did before. Because now it's like 1 or 2 episodes a week instead of 4. We're not going to get to that little creepy thing, are we? No, I'm not changing scenes until you guys can see that creepy thing that I was talking about. Let's go in the door. You can see the creepy thing up top just for a moment there, and then it comes on screen. Yeah, that thing. That thing freaked me out. I love my reaction to seeing that thing. Alright, enough about this game. Let's move on to the next game, because I kind of do have a time limit. Alright, this game. Heart of Grimm. Yeah, I definitely have some things to say about this game. This game had issues. I mean, it's not that the game was made with issues, but here's the thing. Fedora, the game's creator, decided that while I was Let's Playing this game, he would update this game. And he didn't do a very good job testing the updates, and so frequently I would come across game-breaking moments because, like, he would place new scenery where it shouldn't be, and it blocked a cutscene or something. So, it just kept going on, and, I edited out most of the problems. I pretended that they didn't happen, but, after a point, it just got too frustrating, and I sat Fedora down, and it's like, hey, we can't keep doing this. You need to make sure that the whole game works, because I'm not going to edit these things out anymore. That said, I actually really like this game. It is one of my favorite games that I've Let's Played so far, especially for RPG Maker, and any RPG Maker. And the reason for that is because it's kind of epic. This is one of the biggest RPG Maker games I've ever Let's Played. I'd say this game rivals the length of some of the Super Nintendo RPGs. I can't remember exactly how long it took, but it definitely had a few hours of game time put into it. And the story definitely kept me hooked. It was pretty interesting, even though it was kind of face-palmy at times because this game kept on introducing fairy tale characters like Cinderella and Pinocchio. But that was like the theme of the game. It took place in a world inspired by fairy tales. I mean, the name of the game is Heart of Grimm, as in Grimm fairy tales. Granted, Grimm was actually the main villain. Also, I'm pointing out these custom graphics. By the way, this game, all the enemies in the game were hand-drawn, and that enemy kind of confused me. Eventually, that enemy got upgraded with a second arm that you could see, because at first it's like, wait, why is he lifting his leg like that? But no, that's his arm, and so another arm was added later. One of those updates that was made to the game. Another thing I really liked about this game is even if the game did break at times, the battles were actually really well done. They were definitely balanced properly, and every character in the game was useful in some way. You can't say that about most professional RPGs. You didn't get the option to switch out characters until towards the end of the game, but the characters that I was forced with were actually generally good. And the story, like I said, it kept me hooked. I won't go into detail of the story because there's a lot of story to cover. I can't remember any. Oh wait. The Cinderella's introduction. Her introduction was another 2-part episode. And it is another one of my favorite 2-part episodes I've ever done. Because, it was a continuous story from part 1 through part 2. And it actually had a pretty satisfying ending. Ah, yes, the twins. This game obviously has some inspiration from Final Fantasy IV at times. But, yeah, it had a couple of twin mages. They weren't Palamaporum, they were Hansel and Gretel. And they were dang good, I'll tell you that. They were 2 of my favorite playable characters. It's too bad they didn't stay in the party in the entire game, because I would have definitely liked to have kept them. This game also has some pretty good plot twists with Captain Long John Silver. He had an interesting twist. And yeah, musical mages. Hansel and Gretel were musical mages, which definitely helped them stand out a little. Hi, Lantis! You're just in time for me to talk about your favorite game from this season. Actually, you're a little late for me to talk about this game from this season, because I'm already most of the way talking through it. What was I saying before you showed up? I forget. Some of the dungeons in this game were kind of annoying to explore. They were big and full of random encounters, but, this game had some stuff. Treasures. This game has some treasures here and there. Oh, right, I was mentioning plot twists. Of course, I'm not going to go into detail, but John there had a nice plot twist. And Grimm, the main villain, also had an interesting plot twist that I'm pretty sure nobody saw coming, but it was a pretty good one. You guys will have to check out this Let's Play at some point, because I just enjoyed it a lot. Except for the game-breaking stuff, but I would imagine that now that I played through the game twice, because one of the updates required that I replay through the game, I would imagine that now that I played through it, the game is working from start to finish, which would make it a good game. Assuming that Fedora... Stop that! I don't know which one of those is going. It doesn't go long enough for me to pay attention. How loud is that, by the way? Because it's loud enough to me that I'm jumping. What I should do is take one of those down and see if the location of the beep changes. So excuse me, I'm gonna walk over here. I think I'll take down my smoke detector. Maybe the battery's getting low. But if the battery's getting low, that'd be kind of unfortunate, because I didn't change it that long ago. So I will go ahead and set this over here. And if it sounds like the beeping is coming from my couch, then I'll know that it was the smoke detector. Otherwise, it's my carbon monoxide detector, and maybe that is running low on batteries, because I haven't replaced the battery in that one yet. It's weird. That's the sort of thing you can't prepare for. it didn't do that until after I was starting to stream. Anyway, speaking of the glitches, I had 3 goals with this season. The first goal was, of course, to go an entire RG Maker season, this season of my Let's Plays, without playing an RG Maker 1 game, which I succeeded. Another goal of Season 8 was to do an entire season comprised of nothing but RG Maker games, and I succeeded in that. The third goal was to make sure that at no point did one Let's Play get interrupted by another, and unfortunately that couldn't happen. Like I said, after a point the game-breaking stuff got a little annoying to me, and I sat down. Fedora told him to make sure the game was working before I could continue it. And while I was waiting for Fedora to work on his game, I moved on to the next game on the list. So yeah, that was in fact a game interrupted by a game. And the game that interrupted Heart of Grimm was this game right here. Legend of Dreamworld, created by the one and only Wario Land Gold Pyramid. This game was a demo again. Up to this point, Heart of Grimm and Adventures of Bunnywolf were the only finished games. Everything else was a demo so far. And this is a game that actually will not be finished. It's actually not very good. Like, the battles were not balanced at all. And it was full of typos. But I actually had fun with the typos. The premise was definitely interesting, though. Basically, you live as monsters in the dream world, which actually isn't in dreams. Rather, they travel into dreams to interact with humans to make their sleep more interesting. Meanwhile, the main boss of the dream world wants to bring humans into the dream world for some reason, and that is the objective of dreams now, to somehow suck energy from humans, and after collecting enough energy, they'll pull the humans into the dream world. Meanwhile, in the human world, there's conveniently enough somebody who is trying to find a way to go into the dream world. Or was it more like sharing dreams? Sharing dreams would be interesting. But who knows? Warling knows. Also, this game has some interesting humor. This entire sequence right here was done in graphs. Well, I can't remember this game perfectly. And I can't remember any game perfectly. Which is probably a good thing, because if I ever replay any of these games, remembering them perfectly would not be beneficial. Would take the fun out of it. Not that I ever intend to play this game again, unless you actually happen to finish it, in which case I would play it again. But I don't see you finishing this game. Again, though, it would be interesting if you finish it, because the premise is definitely interesting and pretty much the most interesting thing about this game. Everything else, well, wasn't very good. So, after getting through this game, that was the point where I was done editing my videos, and I would return to Heart of Grimm to just do the full streams, no editing. Let me load this back up just so I have something else to show while I'm talking about this. Except I forget what I was saying. Right, I remember what I was saying. Not editing my Let's Plays was something that I was kind of wanting to do for a while. mainly during this season, but during like Heart of Grimm with all the random encounters, it's like those need to be edited out. But eventually I did stop editing my streams, and it has made things a lot more interesting for me. Again, though, I'll get more into that in a bit. So, got back to Heart of Grimm and made it through most of the game before encountering another game-breaking glitch, which was unfortunate because Fedora was absolutely certain that he fixed that one, but apparently he didn't. And unfortunately, this was not only live, but it was no longer going to be edited. So I was kind of in a sticky situation, and so was he, because now we had to wait for him to make a fix. And while I was waiting for him to make a fix, I decided to play something a little random. Forest of Change. This is pretty much the first, and I think it's the first and probably only Let's Play within a Let's Play. This was a game that caught my attention a while back, and it's like, as long as I'm waiting for Fedora to send me a fix, playing this random game, which I should actually hit play on so we can actually see it. Playing this random game would help lighten the mood. The plot of this game is, well, there isn't much of a plot. You wake up as this guy, and various objects in the game transform you into various random forms, like a mouse girl, and a maid, and a nymph. And you can also be wasp people. Some of these I didn't actually show off. I actually played this game some more after the stream was over, and it actually seems there's some sort of a main goal to this game, but I never actually accomplished that main goal because I lost interest. But as far as the premise of the game, with all the transformations, and detailed transformations at that, if you go into like your skills and stuff, it'll give you extra details about your stuff, which is cool. But I love transformations, which of course is why I decided to be a skunk this season. Maybe sometime I'll transform myself into another animal as well. Who knows? For now I'm going to go back to being a raccoon. But this game was definitely pretty interesting. I wouldn't say it was a good game, but I'm not sure it's meant to be a good game. It's more of a game just to waste like a little bit of your time and have a good laugh, and then you're done with it. Moving on. And then after that, it was returning to Heart of Grimm. And there's one other thing that kind of disappointed me with Heart of Grimm: the ending. The ending was actually really good. Fedora had this lyrical song play during the credits with some cinematics, and it almost felt like movie quality the way it ended. What disappoints me about that is YouTube decided to flag the video and block it in 200 countries. Apparently, that song, Fedora may or may not have had permission to use that song. And so that song got the stream blocked, and I had to re-upload it with no music during that portion, which is unfortunate because it was really nice and a satisfying way to end the game. Of course, I didn't have that part completely silent. I basically gave my thoughts on the music of the game. The music in the game is basically taken from other games. Final Fantasy, what was that other song from? Resident Evil? One of the Resident Evils? Or maybe it was one of the Silent Hills. I think it was a Silent Hill song, actually. And I commented on that the songs were distracting because of how recognizable they were. In all honesty, I didn't mind how recognizable the songs were. It was actually kind of interesting recognizing the songs. Yeah, it kind of took me out of the game a little, but it was kind of fun identifying some of them. The reason why I made a complaint about it was because right before recording that edit, I was talking to somebody who was saying that it wasn't the best idea to have all those video game songs from other video games in Heart of Grimm. But you know, I just don't care too much. I mean, Heart of Grimm, I just liked it too much. Once you got past the breaking stuff. Well, that's kind of a spoiler, Royal Land Gold Pyramid. I was kind of actually trying to avoid revealing spoilers. That reminds me, though, during Deity Chronicles, I wound up having this Spanish person come in, and he was like talking in Spanish, and I had no idea what he was saying, so I like asked the other person in the stream what he was saying, go to Google Translate, and apparently that Spanish person was being naughty in the chat, so it's like, whoops, time to edit this stuff out. Since I'm not editing my streams anymore, I can't, like, blur this out, because I'm not blurring anything out. Anyway, let's move on to the last game that I did this season, although it's not the last game we'll be talking about. Last game we did was The Faith of One. Now, seeing as I just finished this game at the start of this week, I'm not actually going to say a whole lot about this. I mean, I did a review on it in that very same last stream on Sunday. So, basically all I have to say is this game had a review at rgmmag.com of 9.75 out of 10. It did not meet my expectations. Still a solid 8, but it wasn't quite the oh my gosh, this is awesome RPG Maker 2 game that I was hoping for. Although I thought this part here was pretty cool, and is like one of the most memorable parts of the game for me, was how you had to wipe mud off of a sign. I'm kind of disappointed that it was only for one sign that you had to do that, because that was actually pretty creative. And the battle system was the best part of that game. The battle system of RPG Maker 2 was edited to a pretty big extent. You'll have to see for yourself how much editing was done. Although I could just stall a little bit longer and let you actually see a battle come up on screen. I'm still kind of disappointed that, well, first off, this was a religious game, for those wondering. But not like religious as in preachy. Well, some of the characters were kind of preachy because they were like, why is God like this? And I don't believe in God. It was like a story of doubt, which was actually pretty interesting, but it didn't go anywhere. In the end, you beat the game and it's like, congratulations, you had a lot of faith. You had the faith of one. Also, Zelda puzzle right here. Try to guess which way to go. Also hunting Easter eggs. By the way, I didn't say this at all during the game, but I am really glad that the game did not stop you to say, hey, you collected an Easter egg every single time you collected an Easter egg. Right now, Lantis and Ixion, on Ixion's channel, are doing a Let's Play of Super Princess Peach. And every time they collect a toad, the game has to stop and tell you that you found a toad. Anyway, that's really all there is to say on this game. Actually, there's a lot more to say, but if you want to hear me say all that needs to be said, go watch the Let's Play. Particularly the last episode where I give the review. It was a pretty detailed review, I'd like to think. even if it was on the fly. Overall, this game was not the epic finale to Season 8 that I was hoping for. I think the end of Heart of Grimm would have made a better season finale. Because the last episode of this was basically a boss rush. Not really a boss rush because you could take a break between every boss fight, but it was one room, 8 bosses. Or 7 bosses. And there was no story while fighting them. So not the most epic way to end Season 8, but still, the game overall was a good way to end Season 8. Alright, so now comes the point where I go into more detail about how I stopped editing my streams. And main reason why I was editing my streams, stopped editing my streams, was because I started doing other streams, and having to, edit... editing my streams was very time-consuming. It would take, anywhere from 2 to 4 days, depending on, how many battles might need to be edited out, that sort of thing. And on top of that, I was doing 2 other streams. It's, way too much work for me, and I was just getting worn out. So I stopped editing the streams, and... big deal. So I stopped editing the streams, and having the extra time is definitely a relief. Granted, at the same time, I don't know what to do during my free time, but, free time is pretty nice. As for what the other streams are, one of them was Super Mario Maker Fridays. This right here. Now I want you to take a look at the start of this level. This was one of my favorite levels right here, because it has a surprise. Fake platforms. So, Super Mario Maker had this interesting glitch where you could make fake platforms and invisible platforms. And while you could probably abuse that and make levels that are just unfair, so what? People are making unfair levels anyway. But for some reason, Nintendo decided that, we can't allow people to take advantage of this glitch and create these interesting levels. We're going to fix this glitch. We're going to make it so that people can't use the glitch anymore. And so they fixed the glitch, and so all of these levels that use the glitch suddenly no longer work. Which was ridiculous because Nintendo went through all that effort to make sure you can't upload broken levels. So now they had all these broken levels on their servers because they fixed a glitch that was required in order to beat those levels. But you know what? That's okay, in sarcasm, because they apparently made an algorithm that searched their servers to hunt down every level that used those glitches and removed them from the servers. And I actually made a level using that glitch, and I thought it was pretty interesting. It was a level I was proud of. It wasn't the greatest level I ever made, but I thought it was pretty good. But they wound up removing it, and you know what? If I decide that I want to re-upload it, but without the glitch, make the platforms visible, too bad. Because my level was taken down, I could no longer upload that level, even if I fixed it. Screw you, Nintendo. So if I wanted to upload that level again, I would have to recreate it completely from scratch. But that's not the only thing that bugs me, and there's a point to all this. I'll get there. But at this point, I've already gotten bored of the stuff available in the game, the objects and items. You know what would be really cool? New power-ups. And you know what? Nintendo actually did bring in power-ups from Super Mario Bros. 3. But here's the problem. Instead of giving them to us as actual power-ups, they decided to make them mystery mushroom costumes instead, which are basically useless. Like the frog suit gave you swimming powers, guess what? As a mystery mushroom costume, doesn't do anything. The Tanuki suit, which turns you into a statue that's invisible for 5 seconds, guess what? It's a costume which doesn't do anything. So Nintendo is giving me, taking away my hopes that this game is going to get any cool power-ups. Instead, they have a mystery mushroom costume fetish. And it's annoying. I mean, I don't mind all the mystery costumes that are being made, but don't take actual power-ups and downgrade them to mystery costumes. Give us the actual power-ups. The point of all this was, after a point, I was just getting sick of this game. Nintendo was ruining the experience for me, and you know, along with that, there were some really sucky levels that I wound up playing. Especially the hard levels. Some of the hard levels took me upwards of a half hour to actually beat. And it's partly my fault. I made it a personal goal to make sure that I try to beat every level that was given to me. And the reason why I did that was because I would look at other streams, like Game Explain, where they would do people's levels, and they would just go for a few deaths, and then if they couldn't beat the level, they'd just move on. And from my point of view, like, what if they did one of my levels? I have a better chance of winning the lottery, but still, what if they did one of my levels, and because they made a few stupid deaths, they decide they're not going to finish my level? That would be really disappointing for me. And so, I wanted to make sure that I tried to beat every level, even if I have to cheat a little. But because of that, some of the levels wound up being just really draining. You know, if Nintendo ever gives us some really cool updates, some new level themes, some new power-ups, I might return to making Mario Maker videos. If I do, I'd probably have to set some new ground rules as far as level completion goes. Maybe restrict myself to how many times I can die before I decide to cheat. I don't know, it's just something so that it's not as much a pain. I shouldn't be as focused on trying to beat the levels legit. Make a few attempts at legit, and then if legit doesn't work, cheat. Maybe I could come up with some other way to make it easier for me. But as it so happened, the strings wound up just being draining, and I just wasn't having any fun anymore. So I just gave up on Super Mario Maker. Now, as for the other stream, it is actually significantly less draining. It is Game Boy Wednesdays, and it is actually one of my favorite streams to do. Basically, in case you haven't been paying attention, I play 3 different Game Boy games every Wednesday. At the end of the stream, and for the following week, people have a chance for which of the 3 games I played they want to see more of, and whichever game wins, I'll play more of that, while replacing the other 2 games. I really enjoyed the streams because it's just interesting playing all these different Game Boy games. You know, a while back, yeah, this is it's not really a pre-recording. I'm commenting live, but I'm using pre-recorded videos. So, let me think. What was I saying? I actually forget what I was saying. Well, dang. I'm trying to come up with something else. Oh, you know, as much as I love these streams, it's kind of disheartening that the Game Boy Wednesday streams don't get very much attention. Like, there's been a few times recently where Pop the Weasel was largely the only person in the stream, which is unfortunate because one of the best things about streaming my Let's Plays is having people in the chat to kind of work off of, responding to their comments and that sort of thing. It's actually more fun than just being alone and trying to come up with everything to say on my own. So it's kind of disappointing. You know another thing that's disappointing? That the streams don't get very many votes. Like my most recent stream, which was Wario Land 3, Pokonyan, and Castlevania Adventure. So far, there's only been 3 votes for what game I should continue playing, which is kind of sad. I'd like to at least have 5 votes. You know, I think part of the reason why I don't get many people in my Game Boy streams anymore is because of the game you're seeing right here, Mole Mania. Now, I don't have a limit to how many times the game can be voted back. I have no intention of placing a limit because it would actually be interesting if a game got voted back enough that I eventually beat it. But Mole Mania was apparently the most popular game I've done for Game Boy Wednesday so far. It was brought back a whopping 9 times for a total of, 10 streams. And people were getting tired of it, and in a way, so was I. Because as fun as this game is, it's a really good game, but being a puzzle game, it got to the point where I was spending more time trying to solve these puzzles and was making less and less progress. I was trying to pick other games that would hopefully outvote it. I tried Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, I tried Nemesis. Nemesis is definitely a game I would have liked to have continued. Another game that I would have liked to have continued, but probably most people aren't going to agree with me, is Faceball 2000. That game was very interesting because it's a first-person shooter on the original Game Boy. It also had a frame rate of 3 frames per second, which I imagine is the main reason why it did not get enough votes. But the frame rate didn't really bother me. I just was in awe of how this was a first-person game on the Game Boy. Eventually, though, Mole Mania did get outvoted, and there's been some... It's been more interesting, because games don't last nearly as long, more variety. It's been pretty fun. I just wish there were more people who would come along and watch it. Hello. So, I think this is about it. I talked about every game this season. I talked about how I did Super Mario Maker Fridays and am still doing Game Boy Wednesdays. Is there anything else that I would want to talk about? Well, if you're talking about the game that was just on there, that was Mole Mania, which was one of the games that I did for Game Boy Wednesdays. If you're talking about what is going on screen while I'm talking, it's just me in Second Life. I've been a skunk all season long. A skunk dragon for this entire past year. And I'm kinda done being a skunk. Also, this is Rocket City, of course. As you can see, the ducks are gone because winter is just ending and the snow is melting. You can see a tree back there getting pink, which is nice, I guess. You know, the reason why I'm showing this, having this scene right here is because for all of my streams this season, at the end of every episode, I would have my credits here at Rocket City. Now that we're going to be moving on to Season 9, I'm going to be doing different credits. I'm going to relocate myself, be a not skunk. I won't say where the new credits are going to be taking place. Okay. Basically, Sucky, what's going on here is I just ended another year of Let's Playing, and I spent this entire stream talking about all the different games that I was playing this past year. And this scene here is a representation of me, because I'm a furry. And I like being a furry. Except for the fleas. Fleas are annoying. It's just a good way to kind of make my streams a little bit more interesting, give a little more character to them. And you know, as far as character goes, let me do this. I'm just going to crop just a little bit of this. There. Next season, I'm actually going to be doing a little bit of updating to the look of my streams, and right there is a little preview for you all. Something to give my streams a little bit more personality. Of course, if you watch my Twitter account, you've probably already seen that image, but those of you who haven't seen that picture yet, you'll get to see this picture when Season 9 continues on Monday. As for the favorite game this season, my favorite game was definitely Heart of Grimm. I know Lantis will disagree because game-breaking issues, but like I said, getting past the game-breaking issues, playing through the whole game to get rid of those game-breaking issues that were being made while I was playing it, it was I just really enjoyed the experience, with the exception of a couple of annoying dungeons. But every RPG has one of those annoying dungeons. As for my least favorite game this season, Bunnywolf. Definitely Bunnywolf. I mean, that game wasn't meant to be taken seriously anyway. It was a joke game. But yeah, Bunnywolf. How far along is this? I've got 5 minutes before I have to end this stream. So let's see here. Is there anything else that should be brought up? Oh, I just did mention Undertale. Didn't you hear me? Like I said, I'll be returning to Undertale on Monday. So, go ahead, watch that. And also, go watch my Game Boy Wednesday streams. Vote. You need to perform your American duty and vote. Oh yeah, next season. Next season is the random season. It's a random season because all the games next season, there's something random about. Whether the game is a game that cannot be taken seriously, or in the case of Pokemon, I'm going to be playing Pokemon Black, but a modded version of Pokemon Black where all the encounters are randomized. And in fact, I'm not even going to get one of the original starters of Pokemon Black. I'm going to get a completely different Pokemon, which should be interesting. And you know, what's also going to be interesting is all the Pokemon are going to have different movesets. Randomized movesets. And, you know, because of how random the nature of randomized Pokemon is, I might actually encounter legendary Pokemon in the wild. And if you don't know what legendary Pokemon are, well, they're basically the rarest and most powerful monsters. Let me look at my grand list of episodes here real quick. I've got that list open, but I forgot to look at it during this stream. So, future seasons. Season 9. Pokemon Black Randomized. Joss's Adventure is going to be the next RPG Maker Let's Play that I do. Along with that, there's going to be a game called Wilbur the Game. Wilbur the Game. A title like that deserves a place in the random season just by name alone. I'm also finally going to do Banjo-Kazooie. Unless it turns out ukulele is already out by that point, in which case I might play ukulele instead, which is like the spiritual successor to the Banjo-Kazooie series. There's also Ladra, which is just a game, and finish things off with a game of my own called Something Stupid 9. That game is really random. In fact, it was created for a random contest. Or a crazy contest? Maybe it was a crazy contest. Either way works. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'll be playing your game at some point this year, depending on how long some of these other games are. And yeah, I would love to do ukulele, so it depends on the timing of that. Anyway, I have 1 minute, so if you enjoyed this video, by all means, like, comment, or subscribe. A little friendly attention can help bring me even more. And for even more Let's Playing goodness from myself and from others, check out RPGMmag.com. Link is in the description. No, I haven't. And thank you guys for watching. I kind of wish y'all were here for more of this stream, but you know, those of you who missed what you missed, you can go back and rewatch it. At times there was points where I was stopping to think of what I wanted to say, but you know, I said what I wanted to say. At least I'm pretty sure I did. Anyway, I have less than 10 seconds. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you when Season 9 continues on Monday.